Brazil.
Hey, you lot, you remember a few years ago when man was reviewing Sean Matsuda and how I was banking so hard on him being the Brazilian fighter that gets revealed for Street Fighter V? Boy, was I fucking wrong. I was sitting there anticipating Sean's reveal, waiting real patiently for my boy to make a comeback. We didn't get Sean though, we didn't get him. His sister turned up instead, and for about half a second I was moderately pissed off before I saw what his sister actually looked like. And then I was like, oh, hello, what is going right about now, my dear? That was the quickest change of heart I've ever had. This girl's reveal trailer made me forget that one of my favourite Street Fighter 3 characters was essentially getting sidelined due to an older sibling stealing their chair. I wasn't even mad, you know? Like, don't worry about Sean, innit? Sean's fine, Sean's good. Let me just jam with his sister for a little bit and see how she do, you know what I mean? Unfortunately, seeing how she do made me realise two very important yet bittersweet things. Firstly, I was a terrible betting man, and secondly, when something seems too good to be true, it usually is. Laura might have had a visual look to knock me and all of my balls out of the park, but she wasn't prepared for the long game, and I'm all about the long game. In a few minutes, we're going to see what makes Laura Matsuda one of my new favourite Street Fighter characters to date, but also leaves me feeling conflicted with little ground to stand on when praising her. Before that though, let's have a backstory run through. If we can even call this a backstory, you know what I mean? Yeah. You should probably expect spoilers. Laura wants to promote her family's fighting style, Matsuda Jiu-Jitsu, so she goes around the world fighting people and promoting it. And that's it. Yeah, that's about as deep as it's going to get. She has a fight with Ryu because he's the poster boy of the series, so of course she would run into him. She then has a fight with Zangief and Rainbow Mika because, like her, they're grapple fighters too, so of course she would run into them. She seemed like she was about to have a team-up match with Alex, but then the game said, actually we don't have enough budget to make this fight playable, so that was abruptly cut short. Then, when the main plotline gets running, Shadaloo have set Laura in their sights as they attempt to retrieve a chess piece from her, which is an item crucial to their plans for world domination, but due to a mix-up, her younger brother Sean has the chess piece in his possession instead, and just as he's getting attacked by Shadaloo, a small band of street fighters turn up to save him. But then Laura arrives and confuses them for the ones attacking her brother, so she attacks the street fighters, and then when they finished clearing up this awkward comedy routine, she goes back to promoting her family's jiu-jitsu by going around the world fighting people and promoting it. Again. God, this sucked ass.
Visual design.
For those who watch this show regularly, and for those of you who know my personal tastes, will see this coming a mile away when I say this, but I love Laura's design. And yes, it's partly because she's wearing green, but that's not the only reason. Nah. When it comes to Laura, the fact that she's decked out in my favourite colour is just a wonderful bonus, because she has a bunch of other things going on that I appreciate immensely. I mean, we're talking 95% catered to my tastes here. Laura comes insanely close to being almost perfect as far as her appearance goes. As I just mentioned, she's rocking my favourite colour in my favourite shade of that colour. A strong, solid, vibrant green. Not some dark-ass olive green, not some vomit-inducing snot-coloured green. No. Green. Straight up, no bullshit, to the point, green. And she doesn't just have one or two spots catering to the colour, her whole outfit is drenched in it. You see her from the distance, boom, green things, you know who it is. The green is accompanied by a yellow accent colour to add to the overall citrus flavour that her design is giving off. And of course, it goes without saying, but naturally these colours are homaging the Brazilian flag, so Laura's proudly repping her country too. The sharp aura of her clothing colours are paired together with some sultry shades that simmer underneath them. Her skin tone is a tanned bronze and provides her palette with a darkened canvas for these intense colours to sit comfortably on. Furthermore, having a few small sections of black littered throughout her design helps to balance out the colour scheme, so there's some neutral ground going on within it. The black hair balances out the top, with the belt holding down the middle and her shin guards locking in the lower half of her design. Overall, there's a very harmonious vibe I get when looking at the arrangements of these colours. Not one shade is out of place and she's been presented beautifully. One thing I particularly love about Laura's design is her sense of style. See, with me, a typical martial arts uniform is a little too bread and butter for my tastes. I like to see personal flair, so if they absolutely have to wear a uniform, then it's gotta feel customized to the character. Personality goes a long way, so I like to see that personality expressed in their appearance. Ken, for example, is known for wearing his uniform a little rebellious at times, and I dig that sort of thing. Laura wasn't going to win any points for her outfit being a typical martial arts gi, but it's what she's done with the look that really sells it to me. It's such a simple thing too, but it just happened to be one of those simple things that cater to my tastes. I'm talking about her top being tied in a knot. I mentioned way back in the Valentine episode that I like seeing female characters rock this look because it's such a nice callback to an old 1990s style. Knowing that Laura is a bit of a flirtatious character, to see her wearing this uniform in such a provocative manner complements her personality and tells you up front that she's a martial artist with a bucket load of sex appeal. Furthermore, having the top tied has allowed her midriff to show, which not only helps to break the vibrant colours up a bit by letting her skin tone cover some ground, but yet again caters to my personal tastes because the midriff look is nice. The fact that Laura is muscle toned also displays these areas of skin with wonderful shading, lightening and darkening each curve of her figure, which is another one of my personal tastes being catered for. That kind of thing is also nice. All of this brings us around to the fact that Laura was without a doubt designed with sex appeal in mind, because if I'm sitting here ticking off boxes and approval and going that's nice at everything, then yeah, it's fan service. There's no two ways about it, this is straight up fan service, let's not pretend otherwise. Laura was designed so people like me that have a particular taste will see this character and go raw. And it worked. Laura looks sexy, Laura is sexy, and sex sells. It doesn't have to be a big-breasted Latina throwing fan service all over the place to sell a game either. We're living in an age where tastes are so openly expressed and varied. Fan service can be found in any character, not just the female ones with the big tits. Any character, from Urian to Birdie, could sell this game to a person with a particular taste bud, and I don't think we should be shaming Laura for it when the brushstrokes are so broad these days. Let sex do its thing for whoever it does it for, whichever way it does it for 'em. That said, I will openly admit that yeah, at times, Laura's presentation can be a little bit too on the nose for me, and I'm the sort of dude who appreciates fan service within limits and reason. But for the most part, I'm cool with Laura strutting around and showing herself off. Let her be a fun character with a sex drive that's through the roof. Overall, seeing this character get announced instead of Sean was a kick in the nuts, but one that I shook off quickly due to just how many boxes this girl was ticking for me. She was wearing my favourite colour. She was wearing my preferred shade of that colour. Her skin is tanned. Her body is toned. She has dark hair. She's wearing her top tied in a knot. She's showing off her belly. She was a step away from being what I would consider a perfect character. Only she sadly took 2 steps back when it came down to her personality and her position within the Street Fighter universe.
Personality.
Before I get into the things that let Laura down, I'm going to highlight the positives because it's not all doom and gloom. There's a few things here that are worth bigging up. Firstly, Laura has got tremendous amounts of confidence. Of course, she would have to have a confident personality considering how outwardly she presents herself, but it's not just confidence in her appearance. Laura has such a strong spirit. She is always alive and vibrant, approaching everything she does with unbridled enthusiasm. You will very rarely see Laura's attitude deflated or defeated. Needless to say, but this confidence does allow her to become a bit of a flirt. Actually, calling her a bit of a flirt is like saying Sonic the Hedgehog likes to briskly walk over green hills. Laura is provocative as hell, moving her body around like she's going to seduce you instead of beat you up, though she'll probably do both anyway. Sometimes the things she says will have a double meaning, showing us she loves a little innuendo every now and then.
Wanna be a grappling bud? A grappling bud?
She's playful. She's a sexy, playful girl, and that is absolutely fine with me. I welcome a fun character over a miserable stick in the mud any day, but the praise sadly has to stop there, even though I wish it didn't. You see, the problem with Laura's personality is, she's an airhead. Oh, granted, she's clever enough to be a martial arts master, that's fine, but basic general knowledge and understanding of human interaction are missing from her IQ. She doesn't think like an adult. For example, she has gone missing on numerous occasions due to simply just wandering off without notifying anybody of what she's doing or where she's going, not because she's being rebellious, but because she doesn't factor in the common logic of keeping loved ones informed of her whereabouts. The most basic things are totally lost on her. She's, for better use of the word, kinda stupid. She believes that Ken Masters, a renowned worldwide famous martial artist, is helping Shadaloo kidnap her brother, despite Sean clearly trying to tell her that this is Ken flipping Masters and not some criminal grunt. Like, come on lady, you know exactly who he is, yeah? Don't chat shit, what's wrong with you? Her vocabulary level is that of a 10-year-old as she replaces words with noises to help explain what she's trying to say.
It sounded like like you were burning with weird energy. Boom! That's how you start the fight and finish it quickly. Ha! Zap, zap! Ding ding! I took this round.
Her interactions with her brother are awkward as she treats him like they're both preteens, constantly teasing him and picking on him. I mean, Sean acts older than she does, and I think that's what throws off her whole character the most. When she talks, the words coming out of her mouth don't match the person it's coming out from. She's a provocative woman, but when dealing with social interaction, she comes across like a child. That's not the sort of disconnect you want to have with a person whose whole visual presentation is sexually active lady. It's weird, it's jarring, and it completely derails the character. Laura needed a more mature personality to match her adult theme. I'm not saying they needed to make her super serious either, just tone down the creepy kiddie factor. You've only got to look at Bayonetta or Poison to see examples of seductive characters that carry a wealth of maturity about them without losing their sense of fun and playfulness. If Laura was presented with a lot more smarts and a less childish voice, as well as a brain to match her body and brawn, then I honestly think she would have been perfect. Shame.
Importance.
Unfortunately, the trouble with Laura Matsuda doesn't stop at her personality. Her inclusion in the Street Fighter universe is minimal at best, and whatever she does do within it lacks any real importance whatsoever. As I said at the start of the video, all Laura wants to do is promote her family's style of jiu-jitsu, so it's your typical copy-paste martial arts story. Promote your style so it becomes the best style in the world. Maybe in the 90s that shit would have been fine, but character motivations have come a long way since those times. Hell, even someone as bland and boring as Balrog doing it for the fight money suddenly had character development in Street Fighter V, which was really weird to see but actually quite nice and I appreciated it. I wish Laura had something else worth fighting for rather than just promoting her style. It feels so vanilla, so basic. Even Makoto, a character who was touring the world promoting her style, was doing it because she was trying to save her family's dojo from closing down. She had a motive. It was a paper-thin motive, but at least it had heart. Can I say that about Laura's motives? No, I can't. There isn't any. She's just promoting her fighting style because she wants to promote it. That's dead. How can I back that? There's no substance. The fact that the game itself forgets what she's doing half the time also highlights how lackluster her inclusion is to the universe right now. During the story mode, she fights Ken for no reason other than because she's an airhead who misunderstood the situation. Upon clearing up the confusion, she decides to tag along on Ken's journey to help spread the word of her fighting style. Then the game just straight up forgot she was there. They didn't utilize her for anything after her fight with Ken. Laura's minimal backstory held no relevance to anything going on, to the point where the mainline story didn't even want to spend any time with her. The whole thing looked more like an inconvenience than a solid chapter. Her connections to other characters don't stretch very far either. She's the older sister of Sean and that's nice, but it doesn't really do much in extending her reach within the cast. Okay, so she befriends Ken through it. Great. Again, plain and dull as far as lore goes. I feel no gravity from any of this. These connections don't strengthen Laura at all. If anything, it kinda feels tacked on at the last minute. I hate to say it, but Laura lacks any importance whatsoever. We've had sexy characters with provocative natures before. We've had characters who have promoted their fighting styles before. Nothing that Laura is doing is unique enough to make her stand out, and the only aspect making her stand out is her visual design, which is why when people call the character shallow, it's hard to defend her. You look at Laura and aside from her design, you see the absolute bare minimum effort put into everything else. It's kinda sad because all that's left is fan service and sex appeal. And I like fan service and sex appeal, but you gotta bring that shit with some substance or else I'm just eating plain white sliced bread. And I want thick fucking peanut butter in this sandwich, man. You get me?
Conclusion.
Laura's visual design ticks so many boxes for me. Her reveal trailer was like Christmas. I couldn't believe I was getting a green-cladded Latina in one of my favourite fighting game IPs. I was super hyped for her, but she fails to cash in on everything else. There's no personality here that I find engaging or interesting. She does nothing within Street Fighter V to show us why she needed to be there. She carries no major importance to the events taking place in the game. It just feels empty. I love Laura, I really do, but with such weak implementation, I can't defend her shallowness because no matter which way you look at it, she was practically created with fan service in mind alone, and that leaves me with no leg to stand on. It is exactly what it is. I'd love nothing more than for this to be just teething problems for a new character, and eventually she'll find her way like other characters have done. I'd love nothing more than to see Laura grow and become as important as some of the other female cast members, but if I have to be brutally honest, I don't expect to ever see any of that happening. For what it's worth, Laura is going to get my Valhalla emblem for becoming a new favourite character from the series, but one that I honestly can't give many props to beyond merely appealing to me visually.
Punishment time! Here we go! One more down!
Yo, this episode was brought to you by these wonderful people supporting me on Patreon. Without their help, this show would not be able to continue. If you'd also like to support Who Dat, please check the link in the description. Any and all help would be appreciated. Cheers everybody.